Welcome. We're all muted. This is a switch on FIG's annual Holiday Singalong. Last year, we sang some songs that devoted to the weather, the customs, and the secular spirit of Christmas and Hanukkah. But this year, we're going to still sing along, though the songs, they may be new to you. They probably are, but they're easy to pick up. So feel free to sing along. You're muted, so your lyrics won't come through. And Scott, you wanted me to say something else? Oh yeah, the first song, when you hear it, it's going to sound noisy, but the lyrics are right underneath the picture, so you can hear what's saying. It's supposed to be a noisy song, okay? All right, this is now, we begin. Imagine a visitor from somewhere else, not from around here, looking with unconditioned eyes or whatever senses they may employ. Imagine that creature observing how we on Earth behave.
I'm not from around here, so I hope you take this the right way, but even though you seem to be neurologically complex enough...
It stopped, didn't it?
You flesh-bearing bipeds make an incredibly contradiction-riddled species, as if you're all bent on comic self-destruction. Of course, you could be vastly superior in some inscrutable way, so allow me to share some of my recent observations, and perhaps you might be able to help me understand your kind.
Yeah, you're kind. Let me interrupt right here. As I present my observations, I'll interrupt the song from time to time and insert other songs that illustrate my attempts to understand your kind. You'll hear from a number of them in a minute, but first I just want you to know that in this song, with my picture up there, the words, every word is a faithful reproduction of what I actually heard or saw walking around your planet. For example,
I saw one of your kind walking a quadruped progeny substitute. The poor thing was tethered to a territorial freedom restraint. Still, it managed to defecate on a chlorophyll-covered status exhibit when somebody ran out of a privacy protection unit and yelled, "Get that mongrel out of my yard! Why don't you dump its shit on your own damn lawn?" The other pretended like she didn't hear, muttered underneath her breath, "Animal hater."
Animal hater. Where I come from, we don't classify living things as animals, plants, and so on. You see, we think of all life as simply life. Allow me to borrow an arrangement of tones and melody. The way you make sound, make it musical, it's wonderful. And this is from one of your most celebrated sculptors of sound, a Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Now, please make an attempt to sing along with the chorus.
Beat it deep, beat it deep, beat it deep.
It's easy.
The Australian lizard known as skink, tongue of blue inside a mouth of pink, all of 60 centimeters long. Watch those teeth, his jaw is mighty strong. If he finds a date, spring's his time to mate, spends his summer days in sun and morning sleeping late. All the winter deep beneath the leaves he lies in state. Beat-a-dee-da-deep, beat-a-dee-da-deep, beat-a-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-deep, but-a-rump-a-but-a-rump-a-but-a-rump. Orange and umber with a racing stripe, skink is not the energetic type. Sleeps alone in hollow fallen logs, runs away from hungry cats and dogs. Dingoes will pursue, kookaburras too. If he get his hackles up, he'll puff and hiss at you. But some predators avoid him 'cause his tongue is blue. When he runs for his life, he lets his tail drop off behind him, while his rump feeds his predator. He's safely on his way. Skink's a wise little lizard, doesn't need us to remind him. You can lose your behind and live to see another day. Beat-a-dee-da-deep, beat-a-dee-da-deep, beat-a-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-deep, but-a-rump-a-but-a-rump-a-but-a-rump. He is not a picky omnivore, finds his dinner on the forest floor. Snails and beetles any bug'll do, fruits and flowers he can eat a few. Goes for slower prey, others get away, likes to snatch a supper in the middle of the day. To digest it, just a bit of gravel works okay. When he runs for his life, he lets his tail drop off behind him, while his rump feeds his predator. He's safely on his way. Skink's a wise little lizard, needs no wizard to remind him. You can lose your behind and live to run another day. Beat-a-dee-da-deep, beat-a-dee-da-deep, beat-a-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-deep, but-a-rump-a-but-a-rump-a-but-a-rump-bum. The Australian lizard known as skink, tongue of blue inside a mouth of pink, all of 60 centimeters long. Watch those teeth, his jaw is mighty strong. I don't make this up, you can call my bluff. Cetaliqua skinkoides intermedia, go and look it up in your encyclopedia.
Now, one of your clever life forms, wouldn't you say? Unlike Skink, who appears to clearly understand how to quickly adjust to adversity, some of you, I've observed this now, please hope you're not offended, some of you bigger brain bipeds seem unable to throw off what you don't need. Perhaps that's because, as I've observed, you all seem so harnessed by contradictory impulses. Am I right? Please don't take offense, but as I have witnessed, most of you seem to waffle back and forth over which of your basic drives to direct you, like this character.
If I could just find the key to life's sacred mystery, I'd share it from high above. Rain down lasting peace and love. But I got hair growing out of my head. I got hair growing out of my face. I got hair growing out of little holes all over my body. I only want what will bring sunlight and eternal spring, pure joy and serenity, forever for you and me. I got hair growing out of my head. Oh, I got hair growing out of my face. I got hair growing out of little holes all over my body.
Your Sigmund Freud talked about this, didn't he? He said your id and superego are in constant conflict. Your id wants to let your hair down. It wants instant gratification, regardless of the consequences. But your superego tells you to behave in socially acceptable ways. Reminds me of the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. Not so strange based on my observations.
I got hair going out of my head. Oh, I got hair going out of my face.
Yeah.
I got hair going out of little holes all over my body. Yeah. I got hair.
I notice some of you have hair
I got hair
coming out of your
coming out
ears,
of my face.
noses.
Oh, I got hair coming out all
I don't know what that
over the
indicates,
holes in
though.
my body.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I keep seeing hair. Oh, hair.
Come on, hair.
I got hair going everywhere. I got
Hope
hair.
you're singing
I
along.
can't help it. I got hair growing
out.
everywhere on my body. Hair.
That was easy, wasn't it? Well, anyway, as an objective observer, if you'll permit me, I'd say your lives are steeped in the search for ways to satisfy your desires, but spare you of guilt, and to avoid those impulses that promise to destroy you. So I have to ask, why so many of your kind settle for the cheapest, thinnest, shallowest trinkets of satisfaction while surrounded by the natural wonders of your planet? For example,
Well, I ventured into one of your culturally vacant expanses of sameness, and I found myself in the middle of one of those mass consumption pits. They were running some sort of consumer feeding frenzy when I overheard a verbal exchange between two discretionary income disposers. "John's out of town," one said. "I've been shopping now for 2 whole days. This is really going to cost him." The other just chuckled and replied as she winked her eye, "Serves him right."
yeah, can you see why I don't understand? In my travels around your planet, I see clearly that you work hard, then you exchange your labor for paper wealth units, and then you exchange them for things that'll kill you. I mean, consider this actual encounter I witnessed in one of your vacant expanses of sameness.
I headed out to the surrounding asphalt field, neatly divided into grid-lined stalls packed side to side with air-polluting transportation pods as your sun was shining through your withering ultraviolet buffer. I passed some bipeds operating carcinogen intake units. One said, "I don't know why people complain about smoking indoors. I mean, like, I don't complain about other people's perfume." And just then a passerby remarked, "Perfume doesn't consume other people's lungs."
See what I mean? And it's just not carcinogen intake units that are killing you, is it? You're currently under attack by an invisible enemy, right? But so many of you refuse to take simple precautions. Not all of you, though. These creatures, they practice social distancing when they're invaded by a mite called Varroa destructor. Not bad. Lucky for you, in addition to skink and honeybees, you have other heroic creatures like Moldy Mary to give you example. Have you heard her story? This is the true story of Mary Hunt, Peoria, Illinois.
Albert Alexander scratched his face on a thorn and the infection cost him an eye. When his docs used a new drug called penicillin, well, it looked like the man might not die. The miracle drug soon improved Albert's health, but the drug was in extreme short supply. For the lack of a more prolific source, Albert Alexander died.
Clap your hands now and thank Mary Hunt. What do you see? She probably saved your
Mary
life.
Hunt left her lab and shopped Main Street at John Scuteris' store, she would pass up all his fine fresh fruit. It was rot she was looking for. "John," said Mary, "save all your bad fruit. I'll take all the mold I can carry." The town got word of the strange request from a woman they soon dubbed Moldy Mary.
Sing along now.
Moldy, Moldy Mary, cried the people she passed on the way. Yeah, they cried, "Moldy, Moldy Mary, with your sack full of death and decay, sack of death and decay."
Yeah. What do you think she's up to, collecting moldy fruit? She crazy? Way ahead of the people who mocked her. You're gonna love this. Oops, that was too early. Moldy Mary. Clap
In
your
her
hands.
lab, Mary tested some cantaloupe mold from John Scuteris' store. It was infected with penicillium carcinogen, just what she'd been searching for. Oh yeah. Well, the mold proved prolific enough to provide us with all the miracle drugs we can carry. Yeah. If Albert had scratched his face a little bit later, he might not have died, thanks to Mary.
Yeah.
Moldy, moldy Mary, cried the people she passed on her way. Moldy, moldy Mary, moldy, 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 sack full of death and decay. Ah, moldy, moldy Mary, moldy Mary, with a sack full of death and decay. Moldy, moldy Mary. Yeah, we thank you for saving the day. Thanks for saving the day, Moldy Mary. Way to go, that rotten fruit.
Thank you, Mary Hunt. Skink, honeybees, Moldy Mary. Help me out here, because I'm not from around here, as you know, but from my perspective in this cold, lonely universe, y'all are damn lucky to still be here. If I may be so bold, may I suggest that this might, what I'm going to show you next, it might represent your main problem.
Well, then I looked up and I noticed a huge artificially lit display. It kept flashing arrangements of symbols which, when decoded, promoted tricks like internet banking and certificates of deposit and a way to easily obtain large quantities of paper wealth units. Claimed you could even pick your own interest rate, and then it displayed arbitrary measurements of thermal activity and temporal calibration. But before it began to repeat these messages all over again, it flashed. John 3:15.
According to what you call, some of you, a divinely inspired book, your creator gave up his son, only begotten son, right? But then he got him back 3 days later. On the other hand, who actually gives up their sons and daughters? May I suggest parents who send their sons and daughters to your senseless war? I mean, that's just one example. Here is another one. It's dramatically related by an arranger of words named Alfred Noyes. This work is based on a story he heard while he was on vacation in southern England, where thieves used to lie in wait for stagecoaches to rob the highwaymen.
Oh, the wind was a torrent of darkness among the haunted trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor. And the highwaymen came riding, riding, riding. The highwaymen came riding up to the old inn door. His hat cocked high on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin. A coat of claret velvet and breeches of brown doe skin. They fit without a wrinkle, his boots reached up to his thigh. He rode and his jewels sparkled, his pistol butt sparkled, the rapier hilt sparkled under the jewel-lit sky. Over the cobbles he clattered into the dark courtyard. He tapped his whips on the shutters, but it was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's dark-eyed daughter? Yes, the landlord's daughter, twisting a dark red ribbon into her long black hair. Oh, it was cold and dark in the courtyard as the stable boards did creak. And someone else was waiting for the highwayman to speak. His eyes were hollows of madness, his hair as coarse as the hay. He wanted the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb alone he listened and heard the highwayman say, "Just one kiss, my sweetheart. I'm after a prize tonight. And I'll be back with
yellow gold before the morning light. But if they do get wind of me before and force me to hide by day, then look for me in the moonlight, watch for me by the moonlight. I come to you by the moonlight, though hell should bar the way.
This is the kind of story y'all seem to really enjoy. Sacrifice, death. So stay with it. Let's see what happens.
He did not come at dawn, no, he did not come at noon. And out of a tawny sunset before the rise of the moon, when the road was a gypsy ribbon looping the purple moor, a red coat troop came marching, marching, marching. A red coat troop came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord, they drank his ale instead. They gagged and bound his daughter to the foot of her narrow bed. Two of them knelt at her window with muskets at their side. There was death at every window and hell at one dark window. She could see the road through her window where the highwaymen would ride. They tied her up at attention, poised for a final test. They tied a musket beside her with the muzzle beneath her breast. She watched the road as they mocked her, and his voice in her heart would say, look for me by the moonlight, watch for me by the moonlight. I'll come to you by the moonlight, though hell should bar the way. She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She twisted her hands till her fingers were wet with her sweat and blood. Her fingers strained in the darkness as the hours crawled by like years. And then, on the stroke of midnight, dead on the stroke of midnight, the tip of her fingers touched it. The trigger was at last hers. She stood up at attention, poised for her final test. Up she stood so bravely with the muzzle beneath her breast. Would her pounding heart betray her as she made her fateful choice? As the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and her blood ran hot in the moonlight at the thought of her lover's voice. Steel on the wind, did they hear it? Steel, hooves ringing clear. Steel on the wind in the distance, were they deaf that they did not hear? Down the ribbon of moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwaymen came riding, riding, riding. The redcoats aimed their muskets. She stood up, straight and still. Steel in the frosty distance, steel in the echoing night. Nearer and nearer he thundered. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide in the moment that she drew one last deep breath. Then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight. She warned him with her death. He turned and spurred in retreat. He did not know who stood. Bowed with her head over the musket, drenched in her flowing blood. Not till dawn did he hear it, and his face turned white as a dove, to learn that the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, died in the hands of the redcoats, killed by her selfless love. Back he spurred like a madman, shouting a curse to the sky, with the right road smoking behind him and his rapier brandished high. Blood red were his spurs in the golden moon, as red as his velvet coat. When they shot him down on the highway, down like a dog on the highway, and he lay in his blood on the highway with a bunch of lace at his throat. And still on a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. Over the cobbles he clatters into the dark courtyard. He taps his whip on the shutters, but they're all locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter? Yes, the landlord's daughter, twisting a dark red ribbon into her long black hair.
Can't get enough of those self-sacrifice stories, can you? Especially when they conclude with a kind of salvation. Maybe it has something to do with the mythologies that so many of you so blindly embrace.
Well, I did some digging and I found your John 3:15 resembles a concept long ago discarded in ridicule and shame back where I come from. Seems like we were killing so many of our own kind over our version of schizophrenia, we had to give it up in order to survive. So I visited a well-known purveyor of your brand of high-flying hocus pocus, and I described the great liberation we enjoyed when we gave it up. And although he seemed to understand, he gave me a condescending look and said, "Go to hell."
In my outsider's opinion, that's where you're all headed, man-made hell. War, environmental destruction, insurrection, mass murder. Maybe you still have time. I don't know. You certainly have received a lot of solid advice. Ironically, some of it can be found in one of your leading versions of institutionalized schizophrenia. Here we go. I see references to this character everywhere, and I still don't know what the H stands for. Heaven, hell, Hebrew? In any case, his story should help illustrate why I refer to you big-brained bipeds as such contradiction-riddled species. Check this out.
Well, Jesus stood up and he swore on the Bible, pressing his case, slander and libel. He said, "Judge, people been using my name in vain, selling my words for personal gain. Now, I don't care, I'm not here to blame, as long as they stop using my name, 'cause I say, love your neighbor,
You can sing along.
turn the other cheek, feed the hungry, stand up for the meek."
Does he have a case? I mean, would that stand up in court? I don't know.
Now, how the hell did they get it so wrong? They pick on the weak and they call themselves strong. Build a damn wall and lock up their doors, fighting the rich and then they steal from the poor. I really don't care, although I think it's a shame. They can do what they want, but don't use my name, 'cause I say, love your neighbor, turn the other cheek, clothe the naked, stand up for the meek.
Misrepresentation? False advertising? Mental cruelty? I don't know.
Now, if folks would just read what I said in my prime, you know,
maybe they could get it right this time. I said what I meant, and I meant what I said. I didn't spout out whatever went through my head. And if they don't want to follow my aim, fine. Just make them stop using my name, 'cause I say love your neighbor, turn the other cheek, house the homeless, stand up for the weak. Yeah.
Maybe somebody could sue on his behalf. I can just see it here. Christ versus Christianity.
Well, Jesus stepped down and rested his case. He bowed his head and covered his face. My heart stood still as he faded from sight. Then the judge stood up as the room filled with light. His gavel came down with a deafening bang. And then the jury rose, raised their arms and sang, love your neighbor, turn the other cheek, feed the hungry, stand up for the weak. You can do it now. Love your neighbor.
There you go. I hear you singing.
Come on, turn the other
Somebody
cheek.
just give me an amen.
Feed the hungry. Stand up for the weak. Come on now. Love your neighbor. Turn the other cheek. Feed the hungry. Stand up for the weak. Oh yeah.
Sit down. Continue your show. Yeah. Woo. You have plenty of other wise people worth listening to, too, don't you? Here are two more of the
Have
bipeds
you heard?
claim to admire.
If you can dream it, you can do it. No, you can't. But go ahead and try. Just remember, even if you do achieve your dream, you still get old and sick and then you die. What you can do is do a little better. Help your neighbor tote part of his load. What you can do is take less and give a little more. When you serve the cake, make sure it's a la mode. Now the next verse I lifted, full disclosure, from a man whose work has topped the test of time. He wrote the way he wrote because that's the way he chose to write. And perhaps that's why it doesn't rhyme. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. What you can do is be a little kinder, help your neighbor tote part of his load. What you can do is toss a little spare change out your window to the guy with a cardboard sign along the road. Well, while I'm stealing material, let's go back a little further. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does a man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there's nothing new under the sun. What you can do is show a little mercy, help your neighbor tote part of his load. If you do perform some random act of kindness, don't look back and wonder
if it shows. Your eulogy won't mention your income. If you do gain fame, it may cite a coup or two. Most likely your obit will simply make a list of those you loved and those who loved you. Yes, it's all about who you love and who loves you. The rest is bullshit.
Well, that's about it. But I don't want to leave you with such a fatalistic message. Here's a final word from your mother. Mother of all of you flesh-bearing bipeds. Mitochondrial mama.
Oh, okay.
The woman who left a message
Ready for the
in
story?
your DNA.
Oh, yeah. Here comes the story now. Oh, my people, gather round while the dew still glisten. Sit beside your brother or sister. Close your eye and listen. Many thousand years ago, woman say to others, I gonna make you father be. You gonna make me mother. Oh yeah. That's how the world got started there. Yeah. Well, there's more. 9 moon, the wee baby come. One day cry to mother. All day long I play with stone. Give me sister, brother. Well, soon the brother, sister come. Fill the hill and holler. Human family, many more. Room to slumber, smaller. Okay. Here come the problems now. Oh, not good story. People come in different color, size, and word and shape. Forget they still one family be. Start to fight like ape. Then the woman dream a dream. See two turning snake. She lived message in between and die before she wake. Now, very important message. Listen and remember. This is what the message say. Oh, my mama be you, mama. You, mama, be mine.
Sing along.
Sister, brother, you and me. One all the people be. Yeah, you keep that in mind. Sing that every day. And the world will be better. Here's more of the story now. How the dew die like the dawn. Sun above us burn. Heart the message mother leave. Live by what we learn. Oh, my mama be you, mama. You, mama, be mine. Sister, brother, you and me. One all the people be. Oh, sing it with me, okay? My mama be your mama. Your mama be mine. Sister, brother, you and me. One all people be. Yeah, that's the truth. Come on now. Oh, we'll sing it until we fall asleep. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. My mama be you,
Yo, mama.
You, mama, be mine. Sister, brother, you and me. One all the people be. My mama be you, mama. You, mama, be mine.
My mama.
Sister, brother, you and me. One all the people be. My mama be you, mama. You, mama, be mine. Sister, brother, you and me. One all the people be. My mama be you, mama. You, mama, be mine. Sister, brother, you and me. One all the people be. My mama be you, mama. You, mama, be mine. Sister, brother, you and
Thank you to everyone who helped with this presentation together. David Lloyd, David Hirschberg, and of course, Herr Mozart, Bill Shakespeare, Al Noyes, and my boy Solomon, Bob L. Stevenson, and the Widows. And let's not forget my co-host, Scott Seidowitz. Most of all, thank all of you for listening.